Hi to all you lovers of ghostly goings on. I'm back again with another ghost story from my archives. This particular story comes from a suburb to the east of Bournemouth called Boscombe. And a friend of mine, Colin Harvey, related this story to me some years ago. I recorded it. And at the time, he was working as a security guard. And he was doing his last few nights at a location. It was a hospital, or had been a hospital. And at the time he was there, it was an empty building waiting to be reused as a hospital once again. So this is what this story is about. Now, this hospital wasn't particularly known, the building itself wasn't particularly known for having any ghosts or anything. But in the period where it was closed and there was a team of security guards there, some strange things were starting to happen. Even before Colin got there, the security guards that were there, 4 of them never returned after one night. But the reports were that about 11:30ish in the evening, their security guard station, if you like, is in the front of the hospital overlooking the car park, and then there are wards above. So about 11:30 or so, they would start to hear people walking about, and there were doors opening and slamming shut. There were also the sounds of trolleys being wheeled about, or wheelchairs. And when I say wheelchairs, it's because one of the security guards got so fed up with the noises that he rushed upstairs to see what was going on, only to witness a door opening in front of him and a wheelchair come trundling by and went about 20 yards past him. And he was absolutely astonished, but he didn't come back. But while Colin was there was some unusual activity. He heard, as all the others did, around 11:30, all the noises started. But in particular, Colin heard a woman laughing. So he rushed upstairs to see what was going on. And this happened several times. And the laughing was coming from a specific room. But every time Colin got to the room and put his hand on the door handle, the laughing stopped. Obviously, he opened the door, went inside to see what was there, but there was never anything there. And Colin is a believer in spirits anyway, so he wasn't really fazed by all this. But what happened next really did give him food for thought. Because on one particular night he was there, it was actually his last night, and the usual things had happened from 11:30 onwards. And he pretty much ignored it. But as he looked up across the car park, there were 2 boys approaching the building. He described them as being around about 12 to 13 years old. Black duffel coats, black trousers, and black shoes. He said it was as though they'd just left school and were just on their way home. He said, but they were coming towards the building. Now, at 12:30 in the morning, this happened. And he said, first thing that goes through your mind is they're up to no good. So he went out to meet them as they come across the car park. And he said, what are you doing? And they said, we've come to meet our mother. We've come to see our mother because she's in here. And Colin said, no, she's not. Go on, bugger off. And so it was the reaction from them was really strange, because usually when they even see a security guard and they're up to no good, they're on their heels and away. But these 2 looked at each other, then looked down at the ground, both turned together and slowly walked back across the car park. So Colin, he actually felt sorry for them from the look on their faces as they walked away. But he got a job to do, so he was looking after the building. So just to make sure that they'd left, Colin followed them across the car park and looked down the lane where they'd gone, and they completely disappeared. There's nobody there. And he went back into the security office and sat there pondering about it. He thought there's something not quite right about not just the mannerisms, but the way they looked. And he said he then put it out of his mind and he waited till the morning. And because it was his last night, the boss came in to pay him off. And Colin said, I had a weird one last night. He said, there was two boys that tried to come in, said their mother was inside. He said, so I told them where to get off, sort of thing. He said, and they disappeared. You know, they went. And his boss turned around and said, yeah, he said, I've spoken to those two boys before. He said, there's a story behind that. And he told Colin what the story was. And the hospital used to be a hospice. And a woman was in there, and a young woman, she got two young sons. They were at school, and she died in the morning. And obviously they didn't get time to say anything to the boys. The boys came in the afternoon and found out that their mother had died. And they were absolutely distraught with grief. And they walked away and went to the front, the seafront. And nobody knows quite what happened, the circumstances behind it. But the following morning, both boys, where the bodies were found, they were both drowned. And they were described as wearing duffel coats, dark trousers, and black shoes. Now, Colin, on hearing this, wondered if he'd just had a conversation with two spirits. So it just shows you sometimes spirits can converse with us in a quite natural way. I hope you've enjoyed this story, and there'll be more to come. Bye for now.